is saying to us today. Going into possessing the land. We give you praise. In Jesus' name. Entering the land, possessing the land. The introduction we look at today was God gave the land of Canaan to the Israelites, and the giving was God's part, the taking was Israel's parts. And we really have to understand the giving and the taking. When someone gives you something, the land was theirs, but they had to possess it. What's the land? What was the land that God gave them? We call it Israel. The question we ask, what land did God promise to Israel? In regards to the land God has promised to Israel, Genesis 15:18 declares to Abraham, "To your descendants I give this land from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates." God later confirms his promise to Abraham's son Isaac and Isaac's son Jacob, whose name was later changed to Israel. When the Israelites were about to invade the promised land, God reiterated the land's promise, as recorded in Joshua 1 and 4. "Your territory will extend from the deserts of Lebanon and from the great river of the Euphrates and all the Hittite country to the great sea of the west." So it's going from the great river of the Euphrates right over to the Mediterranean Sea. According to Genesis 15:18 and Joshua 1 and 4, the land God gave to Israel included everything from the Nile River in Egypt to the Lebanon, south to north, and everything from the Mediterranean Sea to the Euphrates River, west and east. So that the God had given this land to Israel. All the land modern Israel currently possesses, plus all the lands of the Palestinians, the West Bank and the Gaza, plus some of Egypt and Syria, plus all of Jordan, plus some of Saudi Arabia and Iraq. Israel currently is not possessing all the land that they were given. And you see that. There's a little history here and understanding the land, because if we're going to possess something, it's significant. And so the history of the Jewish people began with Abraham. The story of Abraham begins with God telling him to leave his homeland, promising Abraham and his descendants a new home in the land of Canaan. This is the land now known as Israel, named after Abraham's grandson, whose descendants are the Jewish people. The land is often referred to as the promised land because God repeated the promise in Genesis 12 and Genesis 13, Genesis 15, Genesis 17 to give the land to the descendants of Abraham. So this is the land that was given to them. The land is described repeatedly in the Torah as a good land and a land flowing with milk and honey. The description may not seem to fit very well to the desert images you might see on the nightly news. There's some pretty rough land over there. But we have to remember, keep in mind, that the land has been repeatedly abused by conquerors who were determined to make the land uninhabitable for the Jews. Their goal is to destroy everything they can destroy. Recently, when some of the land was given back through these peace negotiations and that, some of the land was given back. The people in Gaza, what did they do with the money? Rather than building hospitals and schools, they built tunnels so they could get closer to Israel and bring out rockets and shoot them. Like, that's what they do over there. They don't want to settle and make it. It's a land of milk and honey. In the few decades since the Jewish people regained the control of the land, we have seen a tremendous improvement of its agriculture. Israeli agriculture today is very high yield. Mastered what is used in Bentley, in the greenhouses, they have mastered the hydroponic watering. Also where the water drips and the agriculture in Israel is highly developed industry. Israel is a major exporter of fresh produce and world leader in agricultural technologies. It's an interesting thing when the people that were living there and have been living in the Palestinians and that, they haven't produced anything. They don't do anything. They wreck stuff. They took the money that they could be building hospitals and built cement tunnels to go and try and bomb Israel. But the agricultural technology is the fact that the geography of the country is not naturally conducive to agriculture. But since the first half of the 20th century, Israel agricultural wizards have been partners with Mother Nature to bring new fruit and vegetable varieties to the global market, from vividly colored squashes to seedless peppers. Every year, Israel exports more than $2 billion worth of produce. Israel exports over $2 billion in produce. It's the 4th largest commodity and is among the world's top developer of better looking, better tasting, disease resistant, and more nutritious varieties. You know, when you look at the size of Israel, and you look at Alberta, how about between here and Edmonton? You know, that's about the size of it, and it's not very wide. And they more export, not just the people there, they export $2 billion worth of produce out of that land that looks like nothing good could come out of it. According to Harry Paris, a senior scientist of the government-sponsored the Institute of Agricultural Research, a organization, one of the first success stories in this area was the seedless, hardy Bet Alpha cucumber, introduced in 1936. Its descendants across the world are still going strong. 1950s, Anna Yoganam created Heon melons, also set global commercial standards. The 2 melons and the cucumbers have a huge international impact, they said. Their quality inspired successive improvements by Israeli breeders and geneticists. Today, an uncontrollable variety of Israel hybrid products has been bred by professionals. When you look at it and say, wow, in this little tiny place, why am I saying this? Because he said, you go in and possess the land. A number of times it was taken back from them, and when they went in to possess the land, good came out of it. We have to see that he's giving us a picture of the good that can come out of us possessing the land that God has given to us. Just a couple things here. 10 things or 12 things that they're famous for is the Gelia melon, released in the market in '74 by breeders, became a multi-million-dollar hit internationally. Their orangeretti spaghetti squash, now the only spaghetti squash sold in Israel, was the first hybrid Israeli vegetable grown in the United States under its own name. It looks and tastes better than other spaghetti squash. I know about spaghetti squash because my wife cooks spaghetti squash. And she makes up this special thing for her. She makes spaghetti squash and ground chicken or turkey and all this stuff, and it comes out like a lasagna. Or like a spaghetti, because the squash, it's spaghetti squash. It looks like spaghetti. Once you cook it in the oven for a while, then you grill it. And so that's one thing they did. The nectarine mango is heart-shaped with a smooth peel. The fruit took 10 years to perfect and went on to market in Israel, UK, South Africa in June 2012. The Pomelet grapefruit, Pomelet hybrid, is another one of their inventions. Angelo, the first seedless bell pepper in the world. A land filled with honey, milk, honey, and like a valuable produce. And the Black Galaxy's tomato was introduced into international markets in 2012 and had already won high acclaim in the native Israel. So here they are, busy being shot at and bombed and beat up and everything, and they're just working away from creating better vegetables for the world. There's the golden zucchini squash, and there's the nano watermelon, sweeter than the original, a slightly different color, and no heavier than 3 kilograms, 6.6 pounds, is a recent new product resulting from 3 years of development. Another Hishtiel innovation is the mini basil tree, a novel solution to the problem of the herb's natural short shelf life. Table sugar acorn squash, released in 2007. Handsome cluster trusses tomatoes, common in Europe, North America, Japan, Israel, and made possible by introduction of shelf life extended genes from the Hezra genetics in cooperation with Bon Tom, the vegetable breeding and research group in the Hebrew University. So they go to university and they create vegetables for the world. The Anna apple, developed by the volcanic horticulturists. It's a golden delicious style fruit for cultivation in areas where winter temperatures rarely drop to freezing. Most apple varieties, and I grew up in apple country in Kelowna, and I didn't know this, but most apple varieties need that winter chill to thrive. But Anna ripened in the early summer and grows beautifully in hot climates such as Egypt, Indonesia, Southern California, and Southern Texas. Wow, Israel was promised a land of milk and honey. And we've been promised that in our lives. Jews have lived in this land continuously, and don't believe that what you hear in the news. Jews have lived in this land continuously from the time of its original conquest by Joshua, more than 3,200 years ago until the present day. Though Jews were not always the political control of the land, the Jews were not always the majority of the land's population, the land of Israel is central to Judaism. A substantial portion of the Jewish law was tied into the land of Israel and can only be performed there. But when you hear about the Palestinians, they say, well, they're stealing the Palestinians' land. They just started going there 100 years ago. And it's because the Palestinians were kind of rejected by a lot of the Arab countries, and they needed a place to go, and they went and they were squatters. But they'll say, you'll hear on the news that Israel's gone in and stole their land. No, 3,200 years the Israelis have been in that land. They made some mistakes and kind of had to go for a little trip out, for a long trip out. Some rabbis have declared that a mitzvah commandment to take possession of Israel and to live in the relying on Numbers 33:53. The Talmud indicates that the land itself is so holy that merely walking in it can gain you a place in the world to come. Prayers for a return to Israel and Jerusalem are included in daily prayers, as well as many holidays, observances, and special events. Living outside of Israel is viewed as an unnatural state for the Jew. The world outside of Israel is often referred to as a Gala, which is usually translated as diaspora, dispersion, or more literally translation would be exile or captivity. When we live outside Israel, we live in exile from our land. The Jews were exiled from the land of Israel by the Romans in 135 after they defeated the Jews in a 3-year war. The Jews did not have any control over the land again until 1948. So 135 till 1948 is when they came back. And they reformed, and took control of their land. Why am I saying all this? Because we're supposed to possess the land. And I believe that there's surprises just like they were seeing here in the land if we allow the Holy Spirit, God, to help us possess the land, to go in and take the land. For a long time, the desire of our homeland was merely a vague hope without any concrete plans to achieve it. But in the late 1800s, they founded Zionism, a political movement dedicated to creating the Jewish state. They saw the state of Israel as a necessary refuge for the Jewish victims of oppression, especially in Russia, where they were decimating the Jewish population, and then it went on to Germany. The same thing happened. What's about Israel? Well, it's pretty interesting. I was just listening on the news today, and I was just driving down, and my news was on, and they were talking about the Nobel Prizes, and they're not having a Nobel Prize for literature. They're having to skip it because one of the guys that was in charge was having an affair or something. They did something really bad, and he was the judge. And they said, it's not here come the judge, here go the judge. And these things are happening. We're in a time that's just unbelievable. We need to really be praying. But you know, when you look at the Jewish people, at least 201 Jews and people who are half or third quarter Jews ancestry have been awarded the Nobel Prize. According to, for 23% of all the individual recipients worldwide between 1901 and 2017 have been Jewish people. And this was really something because a lot of, there wasn't a Jewish land for a lot of that time. They've responded, and it's really, really amazing. If you look at it, they've carried 50% of some and 28%. The Jews currently make approximately, now let's get this straight, okay? The Jews make up approximately 2/10% of the world's population, 0.2%, and 2% of the Jewish population. That's how many Jewish people there are. But what have they done in the Nobel Prizes? Chemistry, 36 prize winners. Economics, 31 prize winners. Literature, 15 prize winners. Peace, 9 prize winners. Physics, 54 prize winners. Physiology and medicine, 56 prize winners of the world. That's amazing. It's a land of milk and honey. There's potential there, is what I'm saying. When you look at it, you go like, wow, how could a little tiny place that's not even as big as from here to Edmonton and do this all over the world? And medicine, like things that they're coming up with, it just keeps happening. Our computers, our phones, all these things, so many of those things have been created by Israelite people, Jewish people. And he said, I'm a land of milk and honey. There's going to be prosperity and produce and all kinds of things that this world is needing. And what's happening? The United Nations deals with motions every week to do in with the Israelites, to put them down, to take the land from them, to not recognize them. But like this is, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that some people aren't very bright. Look at 210 Nobel Prizes, and we're trying to wipe out this little tiny group of people and say, we don't need them. Like you wouldn't have a cell phone. Maybe you wouldn't want a cell phone. Doug Griffiths was speaking about how things are changing at our conference, and he was talking about how these things change, and he showed a picture of a telephone. When you go, and his son didn't know what it was. Literally didn't know what it was. But he said, that handle there is the part that is on your cell phone for phone calls. That's the emblem that they used. But we don't use it anymore. And I go back to you crank, 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 crank. You go like, number please. Grandma and Grandpa's number is 46, please. Okay. And now what we've got in our computer, our phone, is got more power and more ability and more capability than all the computers that were going to the moon in the spaceship. And you're carrying around in your pocket. Go like, things are changing. But so much of that came from Israel, came from Jewish people. Back from, they had just come back to the land from 400 years in Egypt, possessing the land was for them to take. The key principle today is this: what is given is not automatically yours. You can have a box of beautifully wrapped in plastic, Bernard, Chalvo chocolates. But until you take the plastic off the box, until you take the chocolates out, until you put them in your mouth, you might have them, but they don't do you a whole lot of good. You can say, look what I've got. Look what I've got. Have you opened it? No. I always say, especially at funerals, I said, we celebrate Jesus at Christmas and Easter, and it's like when someone gives you a gift, what do? Oh, that's nice. I'll leave it there. Aren't you going to open it? Do you know that it's more fun to watch people opening gifts? When they say, I'm busy. Oh. You ever felt that way? Aren't you going to open it? You sit around, the family sits around, who's going to open what? You can open, and it's an interesting thing because one of the things that someone said that children will open their gift and play with the box. Yeah, sometimes they have more fun with the package it came in than the actual gift. We're going, don't you want to try this yet? Don't you? Well, Dad wanted to try it. It was something maybe Dad liked. So anyways, but we don't, and the principle is this: what is given is not automatically ours if we don't take it. Those things do very little, it's not automatic. So with our faith, we look at our text this morning in Deuteronomy 1:8. See, I have placed the, get the right page here. See, I have placed the land before you. Go in, possess the land which God swore to give. We need to go in. The procedure is the land will not be possessed without a battle. And we see that in Deuteronomy 2:24. Rise up, take your journey, and pass over the river Arnon. Behold, I have given into thine hand Sihon the Amorite, king of Heshbon, and his land. Begin to possess it and contend with him in battle. What's it saying? Is there's going to be a battle to get this. What we're learning today, and what we'll be learning over the next few weeks, is there are battles that go on. There's battles. It doesn't matter what we do. Everybody has different battles. For some, the battle is trying to lose weight. It's a battle. It's a battle. Other people, they can eat, never have to lose weight. That's not their battle, but they have another battle. Everybody has different battles. In our Christian life, there are battles. The second thing we look at is an example of the Canaan type of the victorious Christian life. As we draw the parallel with the children of Israel, we will find the truth that will set us free. The challenge before the church today, first of all, we're going to look at 3 points. First of all, the challenge before the church today is we need to possess the land that is without. We need to possess the land that is without. Joshua broke the powers of the authorities. Joshua 11:23, it says, "So Joshua took the whole land according to, they got into the promised land, and according to all that the Lord had said to Moses, and Joshua gave it an inheritance to Israel according to their divisions of their tribes, and the land rested." In chapter 12, verse 1, it says, "And these are the kings of the country where Joshua and the children of Israel conquered on the side of the Jordan, on the west, from the Baal Gad to the valley of Lebanon, as far as Mount Halak and the ascent of Seir, which Joshua gave to the tribes of Israel as a possession according to their divisions." Verse 24, "The king of Tisra, one of the kings, 31. All the kings were defeated. In Colossians 2:15 it says, "Having disarmed principalities and powers, he made a public spectacle of them, triumphing over them in it." The enemy's been defeated. He never tells you that. You know, let's say you got to struggle with something. There's a fear or there's a temptation or something. He never says, don't worry about this because I don't have any power anymore. He's saying, yes, I do. And I love that saying. I like to always say, he says, give up or else. And the enemy will come to you in thoughts. You don't hear voices always, but give up. It's not, and that's why people take their lives. They're convinced that they just need to give up. Give up or else. And I say, or else what? Give up or else. Or else what? Give up or else. I said, come on, you got to tell me, or else what? Or else I have to quit. He doesn't tell you that. If you don't give up, isn't that the way it is in life? If we don't give up, we can still win whatever God wants us to do. But if we give up, we lose by quitting, giving up. Joshua divided the land before them. You see in Judges 1:1. Now after the death of Joshua, it came to pass that the children of Israel asked the Lord, saying, "Who shall be first to go up for us against the Canaanites to fight them?" We need to realize that we need to deal with the enemy without. The church must deal with the presence of the enemy. Illustration, Israel did not possess their land. And that's what he wants us to see. And I believe that we also, and I know my own life, there's things that I haven't possessed, things that I could get victory over, that I need to get victory over, and sometimes we just don't do it. I tell the story about my youngest son and how he used to push my buttons. Push my buttons, push my buttons, push my buttons. And guess what? Those buttons worked. And I get mad, and he'd push them, and I get mad, and he'd push them. And Janet she never went down that road. But, I don't know why, that's the way I was raised. And, my dad he could push his buttons. And, and we were a button family. Button. It's not good buttons. And so he'd push them. And I remember one day getting so mad, I thought, I was so mad. He got me so mad. I was ready to punch him one. I thought, this is not good. And I quit. And when he started pushing buttons, I just wouldn't let it get to me. You choose to let it get to you. We have to choose to get angry. Anger will come, but we have to choose to live in it. And so I possess that. We get along a lot better now, because there's no game anymore, and he never pushes my button anymore. Maybe it's because Dad got smart in his old age. That was a joke. Okay, so what he said in Judges chapter 1, they didn't go in and take what they're supposed to. That's the lesson to us. Judges 1:19. So the Lord was with Judah, and they drove out the mountaineers, but they could not drive out the inhabitants of the lowland because they had chariots of iron. Are you kidding? What had they done just before this? They had taken down Jericho. God had helped them. And Jericho came down. And now they're running away from people with iron chariots. In verse 21, But the children of Benjamin did not drive out the Jebusites who inhabited Jerusalem. So the Jebusites dwell with the children of Benjamin in Jerusalem to this day. You know how many things we let live with us that we don't need to let live with us? However, Manasseh did not drive out in verse 27, did not drive out the inhabitants of Bethshean and its villages, or Tinach in its villages, or the inhabitants of the Dor of its villages, or the inhabitants of Iblim. Boy, they were making partners with everybody in its villages, or the inhabitants of Megiddo and its villages, for the Canaanites were determined to dwell in the land. He said, go in and take it. You cross the river, you cross the Red Sea, the Egyptian army went in and were drowned. I mean, like, how hard is this? Well, so these descendants of Manasseh decided to work with everybody, get along. Verse 28, and it came to pass when Israel was strong, they put the Canaanites under tribute, but did not completely drive them out. Oh yeah, we'll get them to be their servants. And you know, we make mistakes, and we'll talk about some mistakes. I'm not going into it all today. In chapter 2, verse 11 and 12, then the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord. Why did he tell them to drive it out? Why did he tell them to take it, just to clean up the country? Because you leave sin in there, you leave garbage in there, you leave poison in there, you leave trash in there, you leave whatever we leave, it can go bad. It will cause harm in our lives. And it says, and the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord and served Baals, and they forsook the Lord God of their fathers, who had brought them out of the land of Egypt. And they followed other gods from among the gods of the people who were all around them. And they bowed down to them, and they provoked the Lord in anger. They didn't deal with it. They didn't possess the land. The answer is that we've got to go and possess the land that is without. Jesus said the promises to us in John 14:12. Most assuredly I say unto you, who believes in me, that works that I will do also. And greater works than these will he do, because I go to be with my Father. 1 John 3:8 says, he who sins is of the devil, for the devil has sinned from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Man of God was manifest, that he might destroy the works of the devil. He's destroyed his works. But if we give him the rights, if we say, well, okay, we'll just, okay, it's okay. I can put up, I'm pretty strong, I can handle that. I'm not that tempted, but you don't leave the temptations there. It's like a person that has battled alcoholism and made it back from alcoholism and restored them. They don't put a whole bunch of alcohol around the house just so they can remind themselves that they've won. You don't just say, well, I'll just take a little snip here, a little snip there. You don't play with things. It's just like you don't play with fire. You don't play with, and I'm not talking about that everybody has to do that with alcohol. I'm saying when someone has something that has got control of them, whatever it is, they need to deal with it. You know, some people, you don't get control of them. Their car. They go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for a car, and then they're ready to beat anybody up that touches it, gets near it. You know, why? Because it's their little whatever. So what happens is we're really great in church. This guy had his problem with he was just obsessed with his vehicle. And the Lord said, that vehicle is more important to you than me. He said, oh no. Yeah. You spend more time, So he said, well, okay, I guess, he really accepted what was coming to him in prayer, and said, I need to get rid of it. I don't need that much. And it's running my life. It's running my life. I remember a fellow that he's gone to be with the Lord now, but he wouldn't pick up kids from Sunday school because they might drool in his car. No, I mean, that's nice. That's nice. But the thing is, what's more important, whether they drool in his car or they come to know the Lord and they come to church? Well, then rent a bus. You remember what we used to have in cars? Plastic covers over the seats. Remember that? Anybody have those plastic covers? Oh, some people still have them. You had plastic covers over your couches too. My grandma had that, I think you kind of sweat when you sit on them, because you didn't want any marks on there. But there comes a point where we need to use things and live. And so we see when we get caught up with these things. So this fellow, he decided, we really got to talk with the Lord, and he said, I got to get rid of my car. And so what he does, and this is what we do, okay? He came to church and said, well, I have a word for everybody. The Lord has told me you all have to get rid of your cars. Isn't that what we do? What we're dealing with, we want to make everybody else, what's it called? Misery likes company. And we're miserable. We haven't really got with us. And so we're going to find some funny things as we look at this. But Jesus said the promises to you, most assuredly, John 14:12. I say unto you that who believes in me, the works that I shall do, you will also do. 1 John 3:8. And he said if we walk in sin, we're walking in the world. We're walking with that. So what's been given to us is to be possessed by the church. There's a word to the church found in Matthew 28:18. And Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and earth. Go ye therefore and make disciples in all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always to the end of the world. And then we find to deal with the enemy that's without, the armor of God in Ephesians chapter 6. Finally, brethren, be strong in the Lord and the power of His might. Put on the whole armor of God that you be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, against rulers of this darkness of this present age, spiritual hosts and wickedness in the heavenly places. Therefore, take on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand all the evil in the evil day, having done all to stand. Hey, there's a shield. There's a shield. It's called the shield of what? Faith. How many of you have ever felt like that people are just throwing stuff at you? You know, they're just getting you down. You know, you just turn around and another one comes flying at you. Well, could we call those fiery darts? And guess what? The shield of faith, it says, is to what? Quench all the fiery darts. We've been given a shield of faith. We don't have to do it. It doesn't stick into your arm. The shield of faith, it quenches them. And He's given us, but you know, we go, well, it's always been like this. I don't like it, but they always bug me and pick on me. No, the Lord's saying it's time to step in and take the land. The battle for the church in 2 Chronicles 10, 3 and 4. For though we walk in the flesh, in Corinthians, walk in the flesh, we do not war according to the flesh, but for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but are mighty in God for the pulling down of strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing into thought every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. And so we see, we have the challenge. Possess the things that are without. Well, when I say possess, we don't have to go and become, them. What we do is say, no, we don't need to take that. We don't have to go there. Nobody can make me go there. I choose to take into control those things that are not part of my life. I don't need it. And you might have things in your life that, and I know that after we go in for lunch, I made some what's it called? What's it called, dear? Borscht. And it's grated borscht. I got potatoes and lots of beets and all that kind of stuff in there. And you know that some of you are going to put sour cream in it. But I brought the sour cream because my wife loves it. But I don't have to take sour cream. I put cream in. Not sour cream. Why would you want sour cream? Cream's bad enough. I always say, Lord never wants us to eat rotten stuff. Sour cream, cottage, And those are things I like, but that doesn't mean you can't like them. And I make a joke of it because it's funny. Because you know what? If you ever want to really torture me, have us come over and make some real nice lasagna with cottage cheese in it. And then watch Janet watch me. It's torture. It's torture. I think it was something happened to me when I was a little kid. I think when it fell in my head or something. And it's really, but you can put other cheeses in, but just not cottage cheese. But you see, we get caught up in those things, and let's laugh about it, because we can become so serious about thinking, you can't have this, and I can't, nobody can have this because I don't like it. Well, there's things that we like and things that we don't like. But what he's saying here is let's not get caught up in these things. Let's just realize we don't have to go down that road. And I don't know if I want to go and be a missionary in Africa. When they give you the cream of the crop, the chicken's eye. And they've invested a lot to give you that, and you got to go, I'll stay a missionary family. Okay, the second thing we look at is the challenge before the Christian today to possess the land within. The land within. What's within our lives? Our Joshua has broken the authority of the evil over us. In Colossians 13:14, he has delivered us from the powers of darkness and conveyed us into the kingdom of the Son of his love, in whom we have redemption through the body, the forgiveness of sin. The work of the enemy must be dealt with in the land that is within. He doesn't just say, okay, I'm done. You say, well, I want to serve the Lord. The devil goes, oh, I guess I lost that one. Hey, you guys, let's go. We're done. They don't want us anymore. No, he comes back and says, even when you send him away, he wanders around, can't find a home, and he comes back and sees if you haven't filled that home with what we're talking about, possessing the land, he'll bring 7 or 8 of his friends in. And so the land of possessing the land within, we'll be looking at is our mind, our will, our emotions, and our body. And we'll realize and we begin to see how we can get control of our mind. One of the ways, a lot of it comes from the Word of God. What does it say? What should we think about? How much you can't stand somebody? How angry you are? How horrible you feel? How you don't like the way they dress? And what are we supposed to think about? Whatsoever is good and lovely and kind and good. Think of these things. Don't think of the things. So how do we get control of our mind? By taking some things out and saying, I don't have to think about that. You look at them and say, oh my goodness, the way you're dressed. Hey, it's not your problem. You can look at me and say that. It's not my problem. I look after myself. Janet doesn't even dress me anymore. She wouldn't tell me what not to wear. But the thing is, we don't have to get caught up with what we see, the land of the mind, or our emotions. Our emotions are up and down. I'm not going to go into it, but just to give you the covering of this emotions in the body. The key principle is what has been given must be possessed. We have to take it. Salvation has been given on the principle of faith. We must operate the same principle. Faith extends God's authority in every area of our life. So faith comes by hearing the Word of God. Songs that we sing. When you're down, when you're going through things, sing a song. Some of the songs we sing on Sunday are excellent. That will give you hope and give you encouragement. And realize that we're not alone in this. The works of the enemy must be torn down and his presence driven out. And that means you don't feed him. Don't feed him. There was a guy that told the story of this fellow found this kind of mangy dog that had been left out, and it was really hurting. And he brought the dog in. And he started to feed the dog. But he also had a beautiful parrot. And that dog didn't like the parrot. And that dog was always after that parrot. And one day he came home. And that dog, now he was strong and healthy because he'd been feeding him. And that dog, he came in and he found parrot feathers all over it. And so, the parrot's gone. The dog's sitting there looking different. It's just like that lady just got killed by a dog trying to stop it from hurting her child. So the fellow went over and he went to grab that dog and it went, Arr! He couldn't get him. What are you going to do? You fed it. You welcomed it. You fed it. He said, what can you do? He said, quit feeding him. Well, what do you feed him? Dog food. We all know what dog food is. Not dog food, but the dog food that gets us down. You all know when you've had a good feast of dog food, right? Maybe you don't. Maybe I'm the only one. If I've inhaled a bunch of dog food, it's got me mad and frustrated and ticked off. And I sat with a lady the other night, and she said, someone new there said, I asked, what do you think about this cannabis thing? Don't get me going! I said, please don't hold back. Oh, and I get just, I said, well, go ahead. But it's getting us going. Like, we're not going to change anything by getting worked up like that. So, what he did was he just quit feeding the dog. And now, the dog's under the table. He's whimpering. At first he went there and finally went, you know what dog whimpers? And we feel sorry for the enemy. We go, well, this poor thing's going to starve. He let him get so hungry, he ran over, grabbed him by the collar, went out, dragged him across the floor, and dump down the stairs. Get out and stay out. You know, we have to do that sometimes. And we'll know what it is. As we look at it, we'll know what it is. There's some notes on the back of your bulletin. You can look at some of the things. The last thing we look at is the challenge of Satan is to rob the Christian of God's provision. He will challenge the believer. His works must be met with superior force. It's not us. It's no longer I that live, but Christ lives within me. The cross is the focal point of his defeat. He is defeated foe who has left his forces scattered in the land. And we need to go in and take the land. So we're going to be looking at that in conclusion. To possess the land means facing the enemy and his works. There can be no compromises in any area. The land of promise should be the land of complete victory. It can be if we're willing to deal with the works of the enemy. But, you know, it means we have to face it. So we're going to look at that and just see how God works in our lives. Close with the scripture, John, in Luke 10:17. Then the 70 returned with joy, saying, the Lord, even the demons are subject to your name. And he said to them, I saw Satan fall like a lightning from heaven. Behold, I give you authority to trample on serpents and scorpions and over all the power of the enemy, and nothing shall by any means hurt you. If he's hurting us, it's when we let him. If he's hurting us, it's when we invite him in. We're feeding that dog, that mangy mutt that's now going to kill our beautiful parrot. It's time to cut off the food. There are some things, there might be some programs you don't want to watch from now on, because they feed. Janet said to me the other night, yeah, I love Hawaii Five-O, but I don't think we're watching it anymore. It is so violent. It's just unbelievable. And you know, you used to think it was bad when they got 7 shots out of a 6-shooter. Now they get thousands of shots out of these guns. They just keep going. And I love it because we love going to Hawaii and just love everything. You see all the places you've been. But you know, sometimes you watch it and you just get worked up. And what does it do to kids? You know, there's all kinds of... Now, I don't know why my wife, but she loves all the doctors and the operating programs. But I don't want to have the operations. But I don't enjoy that. It's bleeding everywhere. But I'm joking, but I'm serious. Seriously, there are some things that we might decide. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not, is it? He said, all things are not sin. All things are lawful, but not everything's expedient or of value. And there's things that are of value. Sometimes you might find some friends that are of value. And that's hard, because if you stop them and they're just going on and on and on, you stop them, they're going on and on and on, you stop them, they go on and on and on, you know, pretty soon you're going like, oh, I just feel terrible when I leave. And maybe you need to say, well, you know, if you don't stop, I guess I won't be visiting. I like you, but I can't take what you're saying. You know, and you know, it used to be they'd phone up and say, I got to tell you, I got a prayer request. And then spend half an hour telling you how terrible somebody is. So what do you do? Why did they phone you? Well, it might have been to tell you the story. And then say, well, I got to go. Oh, no. You're not going yet. We're praying. And then take some time to pray. And if they're serious, they'll call you with prayer requests. If they're not, they won't call you with any more. They have to pray after it's all over, after they've unloaded and given you the burden. So what are we saying? There comes a point where we need to take over the enemy out, the enemy within, and the enemy that's trying to destroy us. And as we walk through this study, you'll find some things. This is still just kind of an introduction into it, but you'll find how it can set people free. You'll also find that this isn't the teaching that the enemy likes. So I'd encourage you to pray about it, because he'll try and find anything out to say, no, you don't have to deal with that. No, you don't have to deal with this. You don't have to pay your bills. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be honest. I mean, not every... Well, it's nothing wrong with shoplifting. You know why there's nothing wrong with shoplifting? Because it's in the price, right? That's what people will say. They already priced shoplifters in there. You go like, are you kidding? Do you like it when people steal from you? Then don't steal from them. I love grade 5. I can't go back into it anymore. I just said, do you like it when they bully you? Then don't bully them. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Solve the problems of the world. And so we're looking at a little bit of this. Treat things the way you want to be treated, as you look at it. When it comes to you. So you can fill in the strongholds and the enemies. I'll give you a little thing you can do some writing on. And look at things that maybe are bothering you. And not look at what's bothering somebody else. We're great at pointing out other people's problems, right? And, like somebody comes over and says, Pastor Greg, your son Joel did this and this and this. And what's my first response? I saw your son. Right? They didn't come to ask me about their son. They're telling me about my son. We defend ourselves. And we say, well, theirs bad, just as bad. Hey, that's not, maybe you can talk about it another time. That's not what we're doing today. So when we look at these things, let's realize what's dog food and what's good food. And let's learn that we can get rid of the dog food. Doesn't matter what they tell you on TV. Doesn't matter what the salesperson says. You don't have to feed the things that don't bring good. The Bible calls them a tree with roots out of dry ground. It doesn't bring forth beautiful fruit. But you see, Israel, what I told you, all those things I told you about, the interesting things that they're creating there, the fruit and vegetables, all these kinds of things, that's what we have the ability in our life. Every one of you has the ability to create incredible things. And to meet people and to talk with people and get to know people and find out things about people. We were dealing with things, I'll just close with this. So we're dealing with, I got to stick a couple stories in. We were dealing with the Wolf Creek and the inclusive teaching, taking in, and Ian, you know what we're talking about, like taking in students that really, the government said we got to be inclusive, we got to take in the students, do the best we can. So Wolf Creek has done an amazing job. So much so that people are moving to Bentley to be included in school. And the little problem is that we're not getting extra funding for it. So we're doing all this and spending all the money and we're just doing what we're supposed to do. Some other school divisions haven't done it. And I'm thinking, we need to deal with this. So I'm sitting in this Edmonton hospitality suite, sitting at a chair there, having a nice Diet Coke. And I'm sitting there by myself. Well, to tell you the honest truth, I had to wait because there was a draw. And I had to wait till a certain time because it was a nice prize. I thought, well, if I leave, and maybe the Lord's telling me that because we never won anything. Out of 200 draws, Bentley never won anything. One lady from Chauvin won 5 herself. I think she was pulling the numbers up. Anyways, I'm sitting there and thinking, we need to talk. And when we had the meeting at the county or the school board office and with the counselors and all that, we need to talk with who would you talk to about that? Who should we talk to about the funding that we need for this inclusiveness? Ian, who do you think we should talk to in the
funding?
Yeah.
From the government.
So, and who in the government would be in charge of schools?
Aiken.
Oh, well, guess what? I'm sitting there and he sat down and talked to me for 15 minutes. He was looking for a vote. I'm looking for money for us. But that's how things can happen. He sat there for 15 minutes. I got to know him. The next day I said, "Do you remember me?" "Yes, I remember you. You got my card." "Yes, I got." "Well, I'll be calling you." And I just thought, wow, what we can do if we just don't just worry about the dog food. Let's plant some good food. Let's reach out to people, touch people. Sit there, and I didn't win anyways, but I did win because I was supposed to be there to meet with him. It wasn't about winning a prize. It was about a bigger prize. What we need in our Wolf Creek School Division. Some of the things that we do, and if we can talk. And the reason I say that is it wasn't anything I did because he didn't know me and I didn't really know him, and I didn't know. I'd seen him on TV, but I just was sitting there and he walked over and sat down and we had a good chat, and good can come out of it because we look at the good that we can do in helping others, not just being mad at everybody, but saying, well, is there a way we can work at this? Can we? So I got to tell you what. Okay, this is a good one. Can I? No. I made the soup. Okay. There was this little town, and this train would go through every night at 2:45 and blow the whistle. And every night, blow the whistle. And they appealed and said, "Can we get that whistle stopped? There's nobody around. It's out in the middle of nowhere." I said, no, this is the policy. This is the policy. So this one fellow thought, I'm not going to fight this. So at 2:46, he would phone the guy that was in charge of the railway and say, just want to let you know, everything's safe. The next night, just want to let you know, everything's safe. 2 weeks later, the whistle stopped. There's ways to do things without just getting mad at everybody, right? So we're going to learn some of these things. Father, thank you for your word and the things that you've told us we can go in and take the land. And there's amazing things in the land for us. In our lives, in our communities, in wherever. There's just so much good in store for us if we can just be focused on the good and bless one another and help one another and encourage one another. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunities that I had this week and just to be there representing our community and our school division. Thank you, God, that in these ways, when we write a letter now, they know who they're talking to. So, Father, we just thank you for that. Now, bless us as we look at this study and continue to grow. And bless us with our lunch now, we pray. In Jesus' name. And everybody said, it's time to eat. God bless you.